Welcome to the gold medal match of the USA Pickleball Newport Championship between Jessie Irvine and Susannah Barr versus Lauren Stratman and Jillian Braverman. This match had a number of teachable moments and important lessons that every player can learn from, so let's dive straight in. On the far side of the court we have Lauren Stratman on the even side and Jill Braverman on the odd, and on the near side we have Jessie Irvine on the left and Susannah Barr on the right. One of the first themes we can see here happens very early on. Jill Braverman wants to send a message. Jill knows that while she is yet to completely master the art of the dink, she can avoid being exposed by using her athleticism and Ernie skill to make her the most dangerous player on the court. She's got the wingspan of a young albatross, and we can see here that after a netball forces Barr to spend some extra time in the kitchen, Stratman sees the chance to pull her wide. Barr is not in any real trouble just yet, but she does make the critical error of dinking once again to Braverman, who is anticipating well and performs her fourth Ernie in as many minutes. For my money, there are few things more satisfying than a nice drop shot to win the point. In this next point, we see a crucial element of the drop shot on display. Braverman has her opponents pinned to the baseline after a series of attacks, and whether she got bored of the pattern or could see it wasn't going to finish the point, Braverman disguises the penultimate shot to look like another attack. Notice how at the point of contact her opponents are still in the same positions on the baseline. This shot simply wouldn't work if they were able to read Braverman's shot selection. Later on in this game we see Stratman pulling off the same technique with point-winning effect. The repetitive attacks followed by disguised drop shot leading to an easy put-away. The lesson here is if the stick doesn't work, try the carrot, but be sure to dress that carrot up to look like a stick. Fear is a powerful motivator, and the opening phase of this match has taught Susannah Barr that she should be afraid of Jill Braverman's Ernie. The game was barely 5 minutes old and Jill had already attempted 4 Ernies. Susannah did not want any more of those kinds of shenanigans, but unfortunately the damage was already done, and we can now see the real power of the Ernie, how it alters an opponent's shot selection by removing an available area of the court. In this point, Barr would ideally like to go back to Braverman, but history has taught her that it's too dangerous, so she needs to play an angled cross-court shot from a tough position instead, one that unfortunately never passes the net. The same cause and effect happens later in this game, for the same reason, this time causing a popped-up ball that ends the point quickly. Here we have a good lesson on where not to drive the ball. Braverman, filled with confidence no doubt, moves into the Stratman side. This alone is not a problem. However, if we see at the point of contact the position of all 4 players, you'll notice the large amount of available real estate on the side of Braverman and Stratman. In this situation, driving probably isn't the best solution, and we see Barr able to get a really good swinging volley into the open space. The lesson here is if you absolutely want to drive the ball from the baseline, don't do it to the player who is well balanced at the kitchen, who also happens to have an angle that can expose your position. Braverman might have gotten away with this play if she drove the ball to Irvine, as the counterpunch wouldn't have been angled away so easily. At 5-5, we see the first clear strategic change from Irvine and Barr. It's clear to them that Barr is being targeted, and they would like to keep her out of danger from the Braverman Ernie. At the same time, they would also like to expose a perceived weakness of Braverman, her dinking. For these reasons, they keep Barr cross-court from Braverman to test a theory. After a handful of well-placed dinks, the plan proves victorious. We now come to a pivotal rally in the match. We can see early on that Irvine is pushed back in order to defend the ATP, which she does well. Irvine waits patiently in the transition zone, playing a number of near-perfect reset volleys until she lands one just short enough to allow her to move back in. During the subsequent dink exchange between Barr and Stratman, notice Irvine's position. She never feels the need to hug the line, instead electing to give her some extra time to react to a potential attack, one that comes soon. Irvine counters well, and even though she has a positional disadvantage, she still manages to keep the ball low enough to award her high contacts and therefore a right to use all of her substantial power. Dealing with poachers isn't always easy, but now we're going to take a look at how Miss Irvine goes about it. She sees Braverman doing what she loves to do best, poach with shock and awe. Notice how calm she stays through the shot. Irvine probably wasn't the best player to attack, given that she was well positioned already, but she still had to send a message to Braverman. Her message was simple: if you try and poach off the wrong ball, I can and will go behind you. After some loose points on the side of Braverman and Stratman, we come to yet another critical point that includes some incredible shot making. Early on, we see Braverman with some very ambitious court position that opens up space for a wide-angle drop from Irvine, immediately wresting control of the kitchen away from Braverman and Stratman. After some attack and counter-attacks, we settled into a dink exchange. Braverman seemingly hits a lethal dink wide to Irvine, who uses a fairly extreme eastern to semi-western grip to find the outside of the ball and draw it back on an even sharper angle. Braverman scrambles well, but the damage is done, and with a slippery inside-out no-look volley dink from Irvine, once again pushing Braverman very wide, the middle is now available for a good old divorce ball that Braverman sails long. The biggest lesson here is if you're going to use an angle, remember, you're also giving your opponent an angle to use against you, so you'd better be sure your positioning is perfect. This high-level point causes a timeout and really solidified their foothold at 9-6. Let's move now to the final point of the game. Things all start out in traditional fashion, but soon a wide ball awards Stratman with an attacking opportunity. Barr and Irvine are both very comfortable in the transition zone, and we see Barr able to firstly counter-punch and follow up with a perfect reset volley dink. This is an incredibly high-level skill and a frustrating one for an opponent to deal with. Stratman has her foot on the gas and desperately wants to finish the attack. Irvine, now in mid-court, reads it like a picture book and once again proves why she is one of, if not the most powerful player on the tour. So there you have it, folks. This was an in-depth look at a very interesting game between four incredible players. When it came down to it, it was the consistency of Barr and Irvine that ultimately made the difference. They didn't drive a lot of third balls, they made conservative positional choices, they blocked well in transition, and they patiently waited for moments to attack. Braverman had some highlight reel plays, and she may already be dubbed the Queen of the Ernie. However, her opponents adjusted their strategy quickly and effectively nullified the threat. Stay tuned for more pro match analysis coming soon. Until then, take it easy, folks.
Jessie, Irvine, and Susannah.